heroes are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years.
You know what? I can't wait to watch the video of Kid Rock shooting apart Nike sports bras.
This commercial from Nike, it's the equivalent of having Britney Spears endorse a new line of jock straps.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Thanks for joining us on the Afternoon Drive here on YouTube. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel, then smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of all of my rants. So Nike thought it would be a good look to have a guy put on a women's sports bra and leggings and dance around and endorse and sell a product geared for women. I hate to be Captain Obvious here, but I will be. Dylan is not a girl. Dylan is a male. I have to admit, I really enjoyed the Kid Rock video where he just blows apart a bunch of Bud Light cans and basically says, you know, that's it. Done with Budweiser. And, you know, flipped him off. I am hearing reports of bars and liquor stores around the country that are refusing their shipments of Bud Light. Hint, refuse everything from Anheuser-Busch. Make them truly feel the pain. Go woke, go broke. It's really no more complicated than that. So now I'm wondering if Kid Rock will treat us to a video of him shooting up some Nike sports bras. I personally think that would be hilarious. Maybe I ought to go buy a couple and shoot them up in my backyard and I'll make the video. But this obsession that's going on now with Dylan Mulvaney, who apparently on his little TikTok account is now decrying people who use the wrong pronouns of him. If you insist on calling me a he or a him, I just think that should be illegal. Oh, so you're for censorship. That's good to know. You know, it's amazing as the left was constantly crying and decrying Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. It'll be tyranny. They're going to do everything they can to take our rights away from us, and democracy is in crisis. And we heard that all through the midterm elections. Democracy is in crisis. Who is it that keeps destroying our democracy? Who is it that, like a third world banana republic, arrests the political opposition? And by the way, Joe Biden tipped his hand to it. He didn't say when he was asked back in November, what about Donald Trump throwing his hat back into the ring and wanting to run for president? Do you think that that's, going to be problematic? And he said, we'll have to use the Constitution to stop that. Not that we expect the American people not to vote for him. It was very much the same thing when he gave the threat that if Russia invaded Ukraine, the Nord Stream pipeline that would be the end of it. And the reporter pressed, well, what do you mean by that? It's controlled by Germany. How would you be able to stop it? And he just kind of smirked and said, trust me. Joe Biden is behind the indictment of Donald Trump. Make no mistake about that.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
But back to our boy Dylan. I'm trying to wrap my head around, why are these companies doing this? I take a look at Bud Light. Who is their customer? By and large, it's men. I'm sure there's women that drink Bud Light as well, but it's by and large it's men, and it's everyday working kind of guys, and it's guys that are into sports, and they are male. They're men. That's your target audience. That's who buys your product. So having Dylan press around and pretend like he has no idea what March Madness is, and this over-the-top Marvelous Mrs. Maisel impression that he does of women. This is like a really flamboyant gay man giving us his interpretation of a woman. And why more women are not outraged by this? Because really, he's wearing woman face. Oh yeah, I'm going to go there. He's not really transgender. No, nay. What he is narcissistic. I'm sure he's gay. He's lamenting that he still hasn't been kissed since he became a woman. Because you're not a woman! You're not a woman, not on any level. And this wearing these big poodle skirts like it's the 1950s and your bouffant hairdos, you are an absolute parody. That is all you are. And women should be offended by that, not bowing down and worshiping like Drew Barrymore did. This is like blackface. Yep, I said it. Black people have a right to feel offended when white entertainers say, you know what, you don't do black good enough. Step out of the way. We're going to show you how it's done. What? Because really what Dylan is telling you, ladies, especially you feminists, you don't know how to do a woman. Let me show you how it's done. I'm going to show you this is what men want. Dylan, I promise you, no man wants you under any circumstances. So you got a flat-chested guy wearing a Nike sports bra. Now, I'm going to be honest. There are guys out there that could probably use a bra. And not because they're going through any type of change. They've just drank too much of, shall we say, full Budweiser. And not only have they got themselves a little beer belly, but they've got moobs. And, maybe they could pull off wearing that sports bra, but, a flat-chested male, still with his penis intact, is not a girl. Why is it endorsing female products? This is about virtue signaling. Because it's not like, well, we're going to expand our base of customers. Really? Because so-called transgendered community is very, 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 very small. The grooming of children through the drag queen story hour at schools and libraries near you is about expanding that. It's about desensitizing children and getting them okay with it and thinking it's normal. It's normal. Apparently there's a TV show in Germany where 10 and 12-year-olds sat there as a half a dozen transgender people came out on the stage and took their clothes off and stood there naked, explaining that their body parts do not determine what gender they are. And this was on German television. This sexualization of children. These people are deviants. They're perverts. And Dylan, on one level, is mentally defective. On a whole nother level, it is just delusionally crazy. And so corporations think the best way to deal with that is throw money at them. It's funny. Nike, Bud Light, companies like that would never buy advertising time during, say, my radio show. Because I'm too controversial. Couldn't have that. Well, we can't identify with that. But Budweiser is feeling some real backlash. They feel a lot more. Here's what they count on. They count on either you get mad, you don't buy their product, you're one person, they don't care. they're counting on that the vast majority, though you may not like the ad campaign or their politics, they're narcissistic enough to think you can't live without their product. And you'll complain about it, but you'll still buy it. And while you're buying it, you are funding the very organizations that are opposed to you, your political ideologies, to make America great again. They hate you. And you're empowering Nike and you're empowering Anheuser-Busch and other woke corporations to have the money they need to run politicians against the politicians we support. We're literally funding the opposition. Do you understand that? Now, I don't drink, so, there's not much I can do to, quote, hurt Anheuser-Busch. But I do buy sports products, and I don't have to buy Nike, and I won't. Enough is enough is enough. You say, but I'm just one person. Yep, and I'm one person, so that makes two of us. And we each know people, so we can get that number up to 4, then up to 8, then up to 80, then up to 800, up to 8,000. See how this works? And that's exactly what the left is doing, and that's when they first started doing Drag Queen Story Hour. I am sure there were people even on the left who thought, who thought it was a good idea to have drag queens read stories to kids? And now it's just accepted as, we have to do this. And you can't legislate against this. There are churches like the United Methodist Church all through the South that are having Drag Me to Church Sunday. The only way this stops is if we refuse to participate. So, I'm sorry. Dylan, my boy, I will not be calling you Dylan, my girl. I will not call you she or her. I will call you he, him. You need to push back where you can push back. One of the ways we can push back is where we spend the money. So, if you're a beer drinker, find a new beer. Drink a Heineken. Drink Guinness. Shoot. Drink Miller beer if you want to stay, domestic. But don't put another dollar into Anheuser-Busch's coffers. Make them feel it to where they have to, here's a neat idea, apologize. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? This was the type of commercial they ran just like 3 years ago.
They call us typical Americans. Maybe because we live typical American lives. Like this typical American, showing off his strength. So typical. Look at him, touching other people's things. Always so competitive. Typical Americans, showing up uninvited. Removing their clothes in public. Typical Americans, always celebrating with their typical American beer. So, next time someone labels you typical, show them what typical can do.
Wow, imagine that. Real Americans. And it was inclusive. And it was diverse. And it was patriotic, and it made you feel good. Do you see how quickly we've gone to hell in a handbasket since this Biden regime moved into the White House? Depraved deviants. He couldn't wait to get those kinds of depraved individuals in his own cabinet and on his own staff running things. We have a woke military that, I'll be honest with you, I can't support it anymore. Not to mention our illegal occupation of Syria, these illegal wars, we have had presidents like Bush and Obama that drone and kill civilian populations, and Donald Trump was the one they wanted to put in handcuffs? But hey, you're not supposed to pay any attention to that, because we got a really good-looking she-male, and he's not good-looking at all. We got a really good-looking she-male prissing around and dancing around on beer cans and wearing sports bras. Hey, feminists, remember when you burned bras back in the day to show that you were, liberated? See, you burned them. Dylan came along and said, I'll wear it. Because again, I'm going to show you girls how to really be a female. Because you haven't got a clue. I said this recently, and I will say it again. The war of the sexes is over. The men have won. The feminists surrendered. Because as you bow to Dylan, as you give in to this absolute trans madness, you have basically said, they are far better women than we ever were. Imagine that. Gloria Steinem taken down by Dylan Mulvaney.